give it a look-see doodle. Let's see, where are we? Up next,
Oh,
match.
it's
Here we go.
that one. The long ways one. Oh, that'll be a little novel. We haven't seen one of those yet today. Let's see. Lots of islands up at sea. Bravo is such a weird cap to hold. And then Alpha is really exposed and yet cut off at the same time, which is really unique. What are your tactics for trap? What do you see as the highest priority cap to take?
Trap. I would say probably the most positionally defensible cap would be Charlie. It's also the hardest one to take. So getting a hold of Charlie early might prove to be a big advantage for whomever can take control. The Bravo cap is going to be an interesting one. Depending on the deployment, it can be an easy cake or it can be an absolute prickly thorn bush to stick your hand in. We're going to have to see how the teams handle it because it's very dynamic, that middle cap. At the same time, Alpha Cap, very open, not a lot of cover and concealment there. So that one's going to be probably very fluid. I bet we're going to see that one flip back and forth a couple times like the Charlie Cap on Islands of Ice in that last match. And yeah, I'm really interested to see how this map plays out, how these high-level teams take care of dealing with the maps here, because I know in randoms that Bravo Cap is always a mess, and that Charlie Cap is usually where the game is won. I don't think we've done clan battles on this map, so it's going to be interesting to see just exactly how this one unfolds.
For my take, I'm trying to think of what cap gives you the beachhead to be able to take it. So if you didn't throw your cap, like all of your stuff evenly across A and C and whatever to try to really brawl it down, if you instead overcommitted, if you overcommitted to C, how would you force the fight? And I don't know how you would do that with the islands and people being able to bunker up and just be obnoxious to deal with. Whereas A cap, I think you can force a fight. You can make it happen. So if you were able to take A cap and then siege Bravo, yeah, there's the island in the middle from if you're up in the northeast, right? You could hide behind the island, but short of that, it's open water. You could absolutely stick a DD in there, start to contest, start to do stuff. Granted, whoever's on the northern side of Bravo is going to have those bunkered up positions to be able to use the safety to shell into the people that are sieging Bravo from open water. But I still have to think it's more approachable and absolutely contestable. That being said, like you said, whoever is the person to win C seems to win in randoms. Why? Because there's so much placement, there's so much cover. Once you get it, you dig in and you are hard as hell to dislodge. And if you can take C and then also take Bravo, you could take those defensive positions and dare the folks from A cap to come in and take what you took. You know, you try to walk in here, you have no cover to speak of. I will reset you, I will hurt you, I will make you bleed for this. So I think C is the harder take, but better for the long game. A is the easier take, but better for the mid game? I just don't know. It could absolutely go 1.5 million different ways, and I'm really interested to see how they're going to move on it. But
Yeah,
at the
absolutely.
moment, all right. I'll transition to that, and then I'll transition to the game window because I'm different.
I'm different. Yeah, I'm different. Yeah, I'm different. All right, so kicking it off here, let's go ahead and get into the battle. Last match of the evening, folks. This is gonna be a lot of fun. All right, so seeing as I have some kinship with the NaCl folk, I'm gonna give them their introduction. So let's see, we've got a Ragnar, a Daring, and a Gearing. Interesting, we've seen a couple Ragnars. It's going to be interesting to see how they get made use of. In the first match, it got torpedoed. So we're going to see if they can play it better, keep that health up, and see how we can get those guns absolutely working like crazy. Cruiser-wise, we've got Yoshi, Des Moines, Mosfa, Goliath within the realm of expectation. I would say Goliath very tanky, Yoshino excellent long-range HE spammer, and it has the little bit of extra armor plating to help shrug off the shots that the Azuma at tier 9 does not have. Meanwhile, battleship-wise, we've got a Kremlin and a Bourgogne. First Bourgogne that we've seen thus far. It's going to be interesting to see. I bet we're going to see the use of that speed to get it into a position that most people do not expect it to be. And that's when you start to see a flank fall very, very quickly. What's going on with Alpha Team?
Sounds like a safe bet over there with that Burgon pick. Meanwhile, we've got a bit of a pileup as a Montana is T-boning a Kremlin. They're snuggle buddying it up for some reason. Okay, sure. So we got a Montana and a Kremlin hanging out together. They got a little snuggle-thon in the back, so I don't know if they're going to get to their positions anytime soon, as they may be a little stuck. Cruiser-wise, we got a Des Moines, a Worcester, a Salem, a Stalingrad. Worcester is interesting. Worcester's definitely going to be smoked, and looks like he's riding the tails of a Gearing, which means that's going to be his smokescreen, and Montana heading out the way with it. We've got a Gearing, Marceau, and Shimikaze. Shimikaze for the sneaky spot. We got a Marceau for the kill, and then we got a Gearing probably for a dedicated smokescreen, which I'm assuming is going to be hanging out with the Worcester the entire game.
Absolutely, man. I bet that Worcester Gearing and the Marceau heading over to Alpha are going to be buddy as the NaCl team send their destroyer diving into Bravo. Looks like K was prepared for it. There's some shells coming in there. We're going to see how Subaru deals with it. I've currently got it set, so we're looking at the Alpha team's perspective right now. Currently, the only ship that they know about is that Daring in the center. Meanwhile, if we switch over to the other perspective, it looks like we know about the Marceau and the Montana, position-wise, so it's going to be interesting to see if their deployments change at all. So far, looks like everything's staying static as B does actually get taken control of. Looks like the Daring shell beats were on point, manages to flip that cap early. I think that's going to be pretty big. We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, traded almost no health for nothing, and I think he hit a bit of a panic smoke screen there. I don't think he was actually close enough to be spotted, but hey, doesn't hurt to be safe. Daring's got smokes to spare. You know, you can throw it out like party favors, popping little party balloons and confetti, making it rain, or like dollars in a club. Anyway, they got a Shimikaze Gearing doing a bit of a face-off over at Charlie, even if the Shima hasn't quite decided to step into the fight just yet. However, actually, if he is going to sit on his hands, that's going to be Charlie heading over to NaCl. That's going to be 2 caps to 0, while A is still figuring itself out.
Shimikaze's going to eat a torp. Shimikaze eats a torp from the Gearing in Alpha. Or sorry, in Charlie.
What? Oh my God, that's huge. That's super huge. And they've got a Des Moines, so they've only got a 10-kilometer radar, but I mean, the Shima has to play even safer now. If the Moskva moves from Bravo pushing up, that's even scarier on that Shimikaze. Oh man, I hope he's not hitting another one. He is not, but he is going to start getting the contest off as the Stalin of Milan Rouge is beginning to push forward and shells are being exchanged. I bet his radar is coming off cooldown pretty soon. That Marceau, if he hangs out, is going to keep getting damage into that Daring. And still trying, actually, still firing, still trying to make it happen. Hasn't happened yet.
Has not, but that engagement is unfolding actively as we speak. Looks like Daring is finally starting to return fire. Charlie is it appears to be being flipped back by the Shimikaze. Goliath somehow dodges all those torps broadside. I didn't see exactly how that happened, but looks like the Gearing has just gotten back into the cap to contest Charlie. Philly there taking the contest as Subaru taking an absolute pounding in the middle. Looks like he landed maybe 1 or 2 torps on that Stalingrad's nose, but he is in trouble now. He's got to dive for cover. Not a lot of ships in position to counter that Marceau, although the Moskva comes out around. The Stalingrad has his broadside, starts chunking. Stalingrad begins to reverse. We've got more AP on the way. This is going to hurt the Stalingrad. Yep, there's another 18,000 off. Speedray doing some excellent work. Looks like the Daring manages to survive, too. Bravo's still firmly in NaCl control.
That is huge. NaCl ends up taking massive position. The Daring, I don't know if he was baiting that Stalin, but the bait worked. The Stalin got hooked. The Moskva just shredded out over half of what the Stalin had. And if that's Citadel damage, it's even harder to repair. That Stalin is going to be crippled for the rest of the game, although the Daring actually lost quite a bit of health too. He's going to be in a similar boat. The battle for C continues as it's a little back and forth between Shima and Gearing, but ultimately the NaCl team has a Des Moines. He's not going out into the open under the guns of a Kremlin, but they do have that radar, and the Shima has low health. Some shots going out as the beginning on the farm goes, but Kraken is going for the long play here. They're going for the Salem Des Moines pushing. I don't know if they're ready for the Burgon, but the Burgon does not overmatch a Salem Des Moines. If the Burgon ends up being in a straight-up brawl between a Salem and a Des Moines, he's going to take all kinds of damage. And the Burgon's going to be able to run, but he's going to leave half his ship behind if he does, if these two things start making a play and just pushing it.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was expecting that Bourgogne. I was like, oh my god, there's a Bourgogne. There's two cruisers. They can't stop him fast enough. He's going to get around and just be able to murder both of them with the reload booster. But he actually turns out and starts angling away and starts taking big chunks of damage from a Salem and a Des Moines. That is like the highest DPM possible you could run up against in a ship that does not have the armor to defend itself. Snowboard is going to be in some serious trouble here as he begins to run into the border. Meanwhile, the fight for A has been neck and neck. The gearing for K looks like he took some initial damage, but it looks like now they're starting to wrest control of both Alpha and Bravo as things at Charlie are beginning to look a little rough. They gotta get that Bourgogne out of that situation somehow. Otherwise, that's going to be a dead battleship.
Oh my god, the Bourgogne is on the map border and he didn't turn out. That means he's stuck there. The longer he's on the border, the less engine speed he has. That means the longer he's going to be stuck just eating HE shell after HE shell after HE shell, as the AP no longer going to be chosen in a moment. Nope, they're actually still firing it for some reason, but still, HE shells are just going to burn this thing to the ground. And as slow as his engine is, it's got to be at a quarter speed by now. There's no way he gets out. That Bourgogne is dead. C is going to be firmly in the grasp of Kraken within 2 or 3 minutes, and we saw that the Ragnar was being pushed out of A, which has fallen to Kraken. I'm pretty sure that Ragnar's radar went down, and the gearing used his detection capabilities to shove him right out the cap. And with the Montana pushing with a Wooster that does not seem to be spotted at the moment, once the gearing smoke comes down, they will be able to siege out of it. But not happening just yet. Gearing is wounded. He's not pushing his luck, and the Wooster hasn't come due. Bravo is being taken by the Marceau of Kraken. Kraken making a lot of moves everywhere. It's getting weird.
Yeah,
oh my god, and the Bourgogne is dead already. Well, I guess that's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise. Once he was in that position where he was, his only way to get out of there was to commit and just try and kill both of their cruisers, because he had already committed way too far. He could have potentially turned out and gotten around and run the other way, but he didn't do that. He stayed on the map border and just stayed in the firing arc of 2 of the highest DPM cruisers in the game. So there was no way in heck he was going to be able to figure a way out of that. Meanwhile, it looks like K is still trying to wrest control of Bravo. They have not succeeded yet.
Yeah, Bravo's looking crazy. If we see this Marceau, he just charged a Daring, took a bunch of health off of it. And is he going to charge a Moskva? He can't be making a U-turn in front of a Moskva. There's no way. He is so dead. He is so extremely dead. If he's already caught, he's already spotted. The question is, what does the Moskva do? If the Moskva pulls out, the Stalin might have shots, because we know what happened earlier, but the Stalin's not set up for it. And somehow the Marceau gets out. He gets unpunished completely. There's at least some shells going in here. Okay, there we go. We chiseled off about 1,000 damage, but man, I expected him to be dead.
Yeah, I mean, the Moskva was clearly very cautious about that Stalingrad, but he was overly so. Didn't pull out far enough to get the shots on there, and that led to some trouble. Let's see here. Looking over at Alpha side, looks like the gearing is spotted. No, but it looks like they're focusing out the Montana. Montana's burning. He's down to 30,000 health. If that Montana goes down, there is nothing to stop that big push on their Worcester, and that is potentially 3 ships down and a flank secured. It's looking like that's going to be K's vulnerable spot here, as Speed Ray takes an absolutely massive hit from the Stalingrad, losing almost all of his health. Meanwhile, he's got some AP out in return on the Stalingrad. Not as effective, but we're seeing some shells in. Looks like Speedray manages to survive, but that was way too close for comfort, as K's Kremlin begins to make the very, very strong, powerful assault over here at Charlie. Without the Bourgogne to present a threat, they just have to try and wither him down before he gets across. Not sure how he's going to do that. He's also getting Eagles on the Moskva too. This is the Charlie flank is starting to shift heavily in favor of K, as A starts to shift in favor of NaCl.
Well, C got crazy, and actually, while we were looking at Bravo, something big happened to Charlie. Remember that Salem of Parahandy? Remember how he had a friend? He doesn't have a friend anymore. Darth Vader Pugs was able to get AP shells, ripping that Des Moines in half. And down he went, somehow saving the Goliath that was bailing. Well, that push just got blunted. The Salem realizes, uh-oh, I can't come around that corner. So he gets to throw some shells at a Goliath that isn't going to die. So who cares about that? Meanwhile, the Kremlin had already committed. He's in the middle of Charlie Cap. He's taking shells from Speed Ray and the Moskva. He's taking shells from the Des Moines, possibly from the Goliath if he could get himself lit, although maybe he's going to play a little safe. And there's Torps. The Kremlin is holding right now. Dees is able to take it, but that's going to be a lot of concerted punish. And honest props to the Moskva that got clapped there by the Stalin in return. Moulin Rouge getting, a little bit of a clap back from earlier in where the Stalin took the bait. The Moskva took the bait. So whereas the Stalin got chunked, the Moskva got chunked. So, hey, yeah, I got you back, buddy. Yeah.
little bit of tit for tat there, for sure. Meanwhile, looks like Bravo's flipping back to NaCl. Still very much a battle as the Kremlin gets burned between the Des Moines, the Moskva, and the Goliath, all focusing him down. Meanwhile, it looks like the Yoshino actually shifted back towards Bravo to present the HE threat to the Stalingrad and possibly pushing him back off the cap. As Speed Ray continues to heal back up, not being able to secure that kill is going to really affect them in the long run, not taking down that radar and that long-range firepower. Definitely something that if I was K, I'd be kicking myself that we didn't seal the deal there. Meanwhile, A looking very exposed as there's only a Ragnar with no Torps against a Worcester. I don't think that's a very good matchup. Meanwhile, it looks like the Kremlin's got his eyes over to the left. Looking at Worcester, looking at finishing off the Montana. That Worcester keeps reversing. Kremlin's going to have a big old broadside shot. It looks like he might be throttling it up now, but we're just keeping an eye on it as it goes down. Meanwhile, we've got both of K's other destroyers contesting the Bravo cap now. Looks like they're making a really strong effort to try and wrestle control, as NaCl makes a really strong effort to try and put down that Kremlin and probably try and take back C.
Yeah, the gearing of Crash Steel has abandoned his Wooster Bro, and Wooster Bro is actually taking shells from an open water Ragnar. Ragnar is the bigger cousin of the Smolensk. Doesn't have Torps, but has big guns, and also has some fairly decent armor, which I don't know if that HE shell would overpen. I think it's got 30 mil, which might do some shattering. I'd have to look that one up. Still, the Ragnar bullies the Wooster out of the cap. If the Ragnar decides to go dark, he can go back in and recontest Alpha. That's completely at his option. The Kremlin that pushed Charlie did take Charlie. R.I.P. the Kremlin. But it was not in vain, as all three caps are currently in Kraken's clutches, the Kraken's tentacles, as it were. But they have lost a ship for it. In fact, they've lost 2 for it. Right now, Kraken is lower in health by about 100,000, 110,000 health, and they're even down a ship. They might be up in caps, but it's a tenuous grasp at best. As soon as NaCl recognizes what they've got at their hands and starts to use that health to push back in and reclaim those things, that's going to be where this match turns on a dime. And right now, I don't see that they've recognized it yet. Nobody really has bow in toward a cap other than the Ragnar for whatever reason, but they're going to have to realize it soon, because if they're going to let those 3 caps tick up against them, that might end up giving Kraken a lead that they can sit on and they can play safe on, and they can ride out to the end of the game.
Absolutely. This Ragnar doing an excellent job of taking advantage of one of the Worcester's weaknesses, which is its long-range shell velocity. Easily able to juke and jive, taking very, very minimal damage and contesting this cap. But we do have this Marceau and Gearing coming in. Meanwhile, they've got Yoshino in position to potentially support anything. This is going to be an interesting engagement going on over here at A. Meanwhile, the Daring slips into Bravo. Looks like the Stalingrad's radar was not ready, and he's not going to be taking the cap. Are we seeing any kind of aggressive action over at Charlie? Looks like we've got the Des Moines moving in on the Salem. I put that fight to the Salem unless the Des Moines does something interesting there. But it looks like we might be seeing Bravo definitely flipping to NaCl. Meanwhile, Alpha, heavily contested. Source Tug and the Ragnar are going to have his work cut out for him as the Worcester, the Gearing, and the Marceau all close in like sharks smelling blood in the water. Absolute Jaws moment for him.
I feel like this Des Moines Darth Vader Pugs is going for the ram. Para is backing up. The reverse is only going to be half the speed of a forward-facing Des Moines. He wants the kiss. Some shells go across. It's not going to be the magic, and
what? He survives the ram. He goes down to Moskva.
There we go. That's the trade. There's the shells. Now that's going to allow the gearing of Philly Fump to be able to push Charlie, and not only take Charlie, but to push a Shima that ate a Torp at half health now. Granted, a gearing is probably going to win a gunfight against a Shima at full health, but he ain't at full health, which means he's got to run. Charlie is going to be taken by NaCl. Nothing they can do about it. Ooh. Bravo has already been taken by the daring of Full Metal Subaru, and we've got the Marceau and gearing. They don't have a lot of health. They're against a Ragnar, and a Ragnar is an extreme threat. He's got shells going into the gearing, even now, chunking him down to 4K, chunking him down to 2K, and those are going to be a little too far forward, taking him down to 12. Those shells are going to miss. How far does the Ragnar going to take it? He's got a few more shells. That's going to be the gearing. Is he able to work on a Marceau? Not with 3,000 health, but the question is, how much damage can he do before he dies? If he's able to juke some Marceau cells at range, because the Marceau has pretty floaty stuff, especially what if he's shattering off this? Currently, he's got a fire going. Big damage. Marceau, oh, wow, 150 health goes down. The Ragnar not dead, able to shatter the shells, able to live. The Ragnar is going to be able to come around and take A because there's nothing to contest him. The Wooster is dead. The Montana is driven off. The Shima can't fight the gearing. The Stalin is low. There's nothing to stop NaCl from running away with this match. They have taken it. Grats NaCl. Wow.
Wow, absolutely incredible destroyer play by Source Tug. Basically just taking that whole flank and just putting it on his shoulders. 3v1 against the gearing Marceau Worcester at fairly close range and just shrugged it off. Got them all killed. Excellent work to the Yoshino, recognizing the threat, getting in nice and close, and landing those really devastating HE shells here. NaCl really showed off some skill here. They did an excellent job. They caught the Stalingrad out. Excellent positional play. Really good reactions. If we noticed, we saw the Yoshino making excellent reactions. Excellent bravado, ramming the Salem with the Des Moines. One wouldn't normally consider a ram tactically, but they were like, you know what, this Des Moines goes down. It's just a Shimakaze. Gearing can test the cap. There's no one else here. Absolutely take that trade 10 out of 10 days of the week, because as we all know, it's a 10-day week, right? But as this match slows down, Stalingrad goes down to the Kremlin. Montana's down to 2,300 health. And Philly Fump over here just contesting with the Shimakaze, knowing that his job is already done. 960 points. This one is just a formality now.
Well, 10K in a dream. Nah. It might be a Shimakaze, but the Shima ain't crazy. This one's going to be over. You could just start shooting the water if you wanted to send it out. But there's some Torps coming, so maybe he'll end up eating a Torp with style. He is actually going down, locking down the cap to the last. The gearing is not going to push it, and a few more seconds, tick, tick, tick goes the clock. That's going to be going over to NaCl for the last game of the day. Is that correct? I think it is. It is. That was going to be the last game of the day for us, which I'm going to have to say was kind of explosive. I loved the trades mid. I loved the fact that the Moskva got baited in on the daring, the Stalin got baited in on the daring, and the Moskva was just punishing him. Then you had later on, I can't even mentally comprehend how that Marceau was able to walk in front of a Moskva and go like, sup, and just leave. 1,000 health, just bye. The Stalin wasn't in position to punish the Moskva, so I mean, if the Moskva even greeded for it, he wouldn't have been punished at that time, but he did greed for it. And then the Stalin was in position. So it was a little bit of payback, which is a little bit of fun. The story at B, it had its turns. One side, the other side, the ups, the downs. Yeehaw.
Absolutely, man. What an excellent match.